So I was just looking at some financials, and Balkrishna Industries, or BKT, seems to be doing pretty well actually.
Oh, yeah? What caught your eye? I mean, they're pretty big in the off-highway tire market, right?
Yeah, exactly. Their sales volumes for this quarter are up 5% year on year, and that's not all. Revenue is up by 11%. It's interesting to see growth in this sector.
That's a solid jump, especially in the current economic climate. I mean, it's not every day you see double-digit revenue growth. What about their profit margins, though?
Well, their EBITDA, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, is up by 9%, but the margin is slightly down just by 52 basis points. So it's still a healthy profit, but at a slightly reduced margin.
A slight dip in margin, but still an overall increase in profit. It looks like they're focusing on volume. Makes sense. So, what about their net profit?
Their net profit is actually quite impressive, up by 42% year on year, which is, significant. And they've also declared an interim dividend of 4 rupees per share.
That's great news for shareholders. I guess it shows the company is sharing the profits. It's important for companies to show that.
Right. And looking at their 9-month performance, the picture is even better. Sales volumes are up by 11% and revenue is up by 16%.
Wow, a consistent pattern of growth. It seems like their strategy is working. The numbers are speaking for themselves.
Absolutely. And their EBITDA for the 9 months is up 22% and their net profit is up 32%. So the 9-month numbers are even better than the quarterly ones.
That kind of growth is something to be excited about. It's really impressive. I mean, a 32% jump in net profit over 9 months is significant.
Yeah. And their EBITDA margin has also improved by 115 basis points for the 9 months. So that's an improvement over the slight dip in the quarter.
Well, it looks like they're really controlling their costs better over the longer term, right? It's like tightening the belt in one quarter and then seeing the benefits over the next few.
Yeah, I guess so. And it seems like they're pretty diverse in terms of where their sales are coming from.
Oh, right. I saw that. A good mix of agriculture, industrial, and construction sectors, which makes them pretty resilient against any single sector downturn.
Exactly. And geographically, they're also well diversified with sales across Europe, the Americas, India, and the rest of the world.
A global presence is always a good thing for a company of this size. It's like spreading your seeds across multiple fields to ensure a good harvest.
That's a great analogy. And their replacement sales are a huge chunk of their business at 73.3%. That's a lot.
Definitely shows that they've got a very loyal customer base, doesn't it? It's much more stable than relying on brand new customers all the time, I think.
Makes sense. Now, let's talk a little bit about their balance sheet because that's also important.
Okay, what are the key things to note there? I mean, besides the profit and loss, what does the balance sheet tell us?
Well, their net worth is sitting at about 9,914 crore rupees, and their debt to equity ratio is 0.31. Seems pretty healthy.
A debt to equity ratio of 0.31. That seems pretty manageable, doesn't it? It means they're not over leveraged.
Exactly. It's a good sign. And their current ratio is 1.35, meaning they have more current assets than liabilities.
A current ratio above 1 shows their short-term financial health. It's like having enough water in the reservoir to weather a dry spell.
Precisely. And they have total debts to assets at only 0.20, which also indicates that their debt is not too high in comparison to their assets.
It's all about maintaining a good balance, isn't it? You don't want too much debt, but you also need to leverage assets effectively.
Right. And I noticed that their operational margin is pretty good, around 17%. So they're making money from their core operations. That's solid.
An operating margin of 17%, that's a good indication that they have a robust business model. It's the bread and butter of any healthy company.
Indeed. And their net profit margin is also quite healthy at around 16%. So they're actually taking a good amount to the bottom line.
Well, that's really the key, isn't it? How much of that profit actually ends up in their pockets after all the expenses? And that 16% seems very robust.
Yeah, and something else I found interesting was their focus on sustainability. They've got those windmills and solar power plants, which is a good initiative.
It's good to see companies thinking about long term impact and not just short term profits, you know? It's like planting a tree that will bear fruit for years to come.
Exactly. And they have initiatives for waste management and promoting education. That's a very important part of corporate social responsibility, right?
I agree. It shows they are responsible corporate citizens. And it's not just about profit, you know, it is also about giving back to the community.
Absolutely. So they seem to be doing a lot of brand building activities as well. They're sponsoring Monster Jam and also have other sports partnerships.
That's smart, actually. It's like making sure your name is out there and associated with good things. It increases brand awareness, and that can lead to higher sales eventually.
Exactly. It's quite strategic. They're also partnering with the Spanish Football League, La Liga, the Italian Serie B, and EuroLeague basketball. That's quite impressive.
Wow, they're really making their mark on the global sports scene. It's almost like they're trying to be everywhere at once.
Yeah, and it shows their commitment to a more global market. It's not just India, but also a more widespread geographic market.
Right. And well, they're also the official off highway tire partner for KFC Big Bash League in Australia. That's a big market for them.
Yeah, they're also involved with the Indian Cricket T20 League. So that's a big deal for the Indian market. It's a very smart strategic move.
Makes sense to capitalize on the local market as well as expand globally. It's like having a strong base and then building your skyscrapers on top of that.
Right. It is about solid foundations. And they also have Ranveer Singh as a brand ambassador, which should help with their brand recognition.
A big name like Ranveer Singh will definitely attract a lot of eyeballs to their brand. It's like having a celebrity endorsement to boost your profile.
Yeah. And, all of this suggests that they are positioning themselves for long term growth, not just for the short term gains.
It definitely seems like they're thinking long term. It's not just about a quick buck, but really building a sustainable business model, which is really encouraging to see.
Yeah, so it's a very good outlook. You know what else is great? We should remind our listeners that they should like, share, and subscribe to the channel if they're enjoying our content.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you join our community, you know. Also, just a quick note, disclaimer, we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions.
Right. So, to summarize, BKT is doing very well with consistent growth in sales, revenue, and profits, both for the quarter and the 9-month period.
Absolutely. They have a diversified product portfolio, global presence, and strong brand recognition, all contributing to their success.
And their financial health seems strong, with a manageable debt to equity ratio and good operating and net profit margins, right?
Yes, and their strategic investments in sustainability and brand building show they're focused on long term growth and success.
Yeah, so it's quite a solid company, I think. It is something to keep an eye on in the future for sure.
Definitely. And it makes you wonder what will be their next growth area? What new initiatives can we expect from them next?
Good question. Maybe their new off-road tire project at Boji will be a big factor in the next couple of years, you will see.
I guess only time will tell. It will be interesting to track their progress moving forward, you know.